When fake HOA cops brutally attacked John Miller's pregnant wife, Emily, the neighborhood was shaken to its core by this unforgivable act. These imposters used fear and violence to prey on innocent residents, showing a cruel disregard for the most vulnerable. But John, a SWAT captain, refused to stand by. He turned his own team loose on the criminals, changing the course of this fight for justice. Just wait until you hear how this shocking story unfolds and why, in the end, justice truly prevailed. John Miller, a seasoned SWAT team captain, was finally home after a grueling day filled with high-stakes operations, the kind of day that weighs heavy on the mind and body. His wife, Emily, who was 7 months pregnant, waited for him in their cozy suburban home. The soft glow of the living room lamp cast a warm light, and the quiet hum of the evening promised a peaceful night. Exactly what they both needed. John sank into the couch, reaching out to gently touch Emily's growing belly. She smiled softly, tracing her hand over his. For a moment, all was calm. Then, without warning, a sharp, insistent knock shattered the calm. John and Emily exchanged uneasy glances. The door rattled again. John rose, instincts already alert. When he opened the door, 2 men stood there, wearing dark suits that looked official, but something felt off. They introduced themselves as HOA cops, representatives of the Homeowners Association tasked with enforcing neighborhood rules. But John's gut tightened. He had seen enough false fronts to know this wasn't right. Emily stepped forward, her voice calm but firm. "There's no violation here. We haven't received any notices." One of the men didn't answer. Instead, without warning, he reached out and struck Emily. The blow wasn't just unexpected, it was devastating. Before John could react, the second man delivered a cruel, heavy kick to Emily's belly. A sharp, heart-stopping cry tore from Emily's lips. She doubled over, clutching her stomach, panic flooding her eyes. John's heart slammed against his ribs as fury ignited inside him. He lunged toward the men, shouting for them to stop, but they disappeared into the shadows of the night before he could reach them. For a moment, John stood frozen, the world narrowing to the pain and fear in his wife's eyes. Then the shock melted into a burning rage, fueling a fierce determination that this injustice would not stand. John couldn't believe what had happened. In his quiet, peaceful neighborhood, people claiming to be officers of the Homeowners Association had brazenly attacked his pregnant wife, a defenseless woman. The very idea of such cruelty filled him with a deep, burning hatred. It wasn't just the physical harm inflicted on Emily. It was the utter disrespect for safety, for family, for community. What made it worse was the slow response from the local police. Despite John's connections and his own attempts to push the investigation forward, the suspects remained elusive. The officers seemed overwhelmed or perhaps unwilling to prioritize the case. Every passing hour without answers made John's frustration and hatred grow. But sitting idle and hoping for justice was no longer an option. John knew he had to take matters into his own hands. Using his experience and network, he began digging deeper. He talked to neighbors, scoured online forums, and pieced together reports from others who had fallen victim to similar imposters. What emerged was chilling. This was not an isolated incident. A group of fraudsters had been operating in the area for months, masquerading as HOA officers to intimidate residents, extort money, and sometimes even resort to violence. Their tactic was to exploit the trust people placed in neighborhood authority figures, turning that trust into a weapon. Learning this only fueled John's hatred further. These weren't just criminals. They were predators, preying on the vulnerable under a false badge. And John swore silently that he would stop them, no matter what it took. The fire burning inside John was impossible to ignore. His shock had evolved into a relentless, fierce anger that demanded action. Sitting back and waiting for justice wasn't enough, not when the people he cared about had been harmed so deeply. Fueled by that anger, John made a decision. He would take matters into his own hands. Leveraging years of experience and connections from his role as a SWAT team captain, John mobilized his trusted unit. He shared everything he had uncovered during his investigation: the identities, the patterns, and most importantly, the location where the perpetrators were believed to be hiding: an old, abandoned house on the edge of town. As night fell, John and his team moved with precision and determination. Every step was calculated, every breath tense. They surrounded the building, prepared for a confrontation. The atmosphere was thick with anticipation. This was more than just an operation, it was personal. When the moment came, John led the breach. The team moved swiftly, securing the scene and apprehending all the members of the gang without unnecessary harm. Among them was the man who had struck Emily, the ringleader of this cruel scheme. John personally escorted the leader out, his eyes locked on the man who had crossed the line. His anger was palpable, but beneath it lay something even stronger: a steadfast resolve. This was about justice, about standing up for what was right, no matter the cost. In that moment, John knew he wouldn't rest until the truth was known and the threat removed. The safety of his family and of the entire community depended on it. After the arrests, the truth came to light, and the entire neighborhood rallied behind John and Emily. Word spread quickly about the brave stand John took against the dangerous fraudsters. It became clear to everyone that without his swift and decisive actions, the cycle of fear and violence would have continued unchecked. Emily began her recovery, surrounded by a community that cared deeply. With the support of compassionate neighbors and skilled medical professionals, her pregnancy progressed smoothly, free from further complications. Each day brought hope and healing, a testament to resilience in the face of hardship. For John, the sense of satisfaction ran deep. It wasn't just about bringing the perpetrators to justice. It was about protecting his family, his home, and his community. His commitment to righting this wrong became a beacon, a reminder that no one should stand silent when injustice threatens the vulnerable. In the end, John's courage inspired others to stand firm, proving that true strength lies not only in force, but in unwavering dedication to what is right. The neighborhood had reclaimed its peace, and with it a renewed faith in justice and safety for all.